So now that we have covered the other topics and I've downloaded our program, we are now online and we're going to do a little bit of exploration of the new features, specifically dealing with tags. So tags always have the ability, and this has been true forever, that you can store them in a program tag or a controller tag. Program tags allow you to create tag names that are identical. That way they're only referenced within the program. So if you have multiple motors or things along that nature where you want the same tag name used, you can create them as a program tag. For today, everything we are going to be working with, I'm going to deal with our controller tags specifically. In dealing with the new controller tags, one of the newest features that has come out with version 32 is there are a few new data types. So I'm going to make a tag and I'm just going to call it new tag. I'll do an underscore just to be nice. And they now have the ability to be unsigned or long. So I am going to create an unsigned, so if you hit our little ellipses, it will automatically search for me, and I'm going to make an unsigned double integer. So the reason these tags were added is with the new platform, so the 5069 and the L8 processing units only, right? So it's only the newer ones that you have the ability to create these ones. And they are done because the newer ones can handle the higher computations and therefore then require and have the ability to use the better data formats. So these data formats are typically used in like third-party communications. They could be used for like SQL bridge calculations that some people will be using them for. Part uses unsigned integers and double integers. So that's where they come into play. I just wanted to highlight that you have the ability to create these new style tags, but again, you must be using the L8 processing units, the 5069 processing units, or the 5480, which is very, very similar. The 5480 and again, the 5069 are about the same. The difference is having that PC embedded in it. Okay, so now that we created the new tag type, the other thing, or one of the other things that they have done to make a much, much needed improvement is when creating a user-defined type. So previously, we've been able to make a new user-defined type. And today, we are going to make a user-defined type called data read write. A lot of people use user-defined types when attempting to transmit data. By creating a user-defined type, it will allow you to send multiple or more blocks of information in one message instruction or a produced and consumed tag, because the tag type has multiple tags embedded in it. So for today, we're going to have dint1 with a data type of dint. Then we're going to add another one. We're going to have dint2, and it's also going to be a dint. And then just for giggles, we're going to add a real that we want to send. So we want to send 2 double integers and we want to send a real. Enter. So the little asterisk shows that they have not been saved and they're not completely compiled yet. So at this point, we could change the name or the data type. But once we click apply, it's now stored inside the controller. What we now need to do is we're going to go make another tag. So our new tag is going to be called data transfer, and we're going to give it the data type of data read write. So see how it automatically recognizes it. So once you have this tag and you have now created a tag that references that user defined type, if we go back to the user defined type here, you now see that your data type is grayed out. You cannot change this anymore, but you can add additional tags or leave them spare, and you say, oh, I don't really want this to be a double integer. This is actually going to be Boolean. So I'm going to reference the 32 Booleans inside this double integer. So now I have 32 Booleans being passed, a double integer that's double integer 2, and a real. But I really want to make everything 1. So I have Boolean 1, double integer 1, real 1. You can now make this edit while online. So you no longer need to download. That is huge, especially in situations where you can't take down equipment, but you want to make a small modification to a user-defined type or the information being passed between two different controllers. So that is a great advantage that you can do. The next main topic we're going to cover is tag-based alarming. So tag-based alarming was actually created in version 31 for the first time. Tag-based alarms automatically integrate with FactoryTalk View SE. It now also integrates with the Alarm and Event Server and Machine Edition, as well as the Panel View 5000. So today what I want to do is I'm going to alarm anytime someone puts my interlock in bypass because I want to be notified that this happened. All you do is you right click on the tag in which you want to create and you can say add alarm for this tag. Doing this brings up this alarm configuration window. So what I want to do is I want my alarm name to be the same as my alarm input, just so I don't lose traceability, and that's just to keep things simple for me. You don't have to do this. You can rename it to any name you'd like it to be, but for simplicity, I'd like to keep it the same. For our condition today, it is going to be a trip. Now, if this is an analog or something else like a double integer that's not just a simple Boolean, which we're doing, you can set high, high, low, and low, low, and other triggers or conditions, but today we're just going to trip, and we're going to trip when it's a condition of 1. So for e-stops, right, you might want to trip if it's a condition of 0, meaning that you lost your e-stop signal. The next thing you need to do is this is going to be our transfer pump. But I want to know which transfer pump or what's wrong with the transfer pump. So you have the ability to add variables. And today I want to say transfer pump, and I'm just going to add the alarm name. So now my message is going to pop up in my HMI saying transfer pump motor interlock bypass. So I easily can understand what it is. Plus I know that I created it off the alarm name and it matches my tag type. So I'll know immediately from my alarm that's on my HMI where to look for and what tag name to find inside my controller if I need to troubleshoot and diagnose what is happening. So I'm going to click apply to actually create this new alarm for me. And I want to highlight that when you do create alarms, if you go to your controller tags, since it used this tag here, how do you know that that tag is being used for an alarm? What you want to do is you want to go to View, Toggle Column, and then we're going to go to Alarms. So now you can see that that tag is associated with an alarm. That was all standard with version 31. Now where 32 comes into play and it makes it a lot nicer is you now have this alarm manager folder. It allows you to filter between the different tag names that you have, and it also gives you the tag browser. So we'll go into our alarms, open up this tab. And one thing I need to point out and highlight to you guys, you have the ability here to, I don't want to use the word enable and disable because it's slightly different, but you can choose to use or not use this alarm. It is not the same as enabling and disabling the alarm. And I'll show you why that's different. So if you double click on it, it'll bring you back to that same configuration page. But now that this alarm is in use, you can come to the status and you can see you have the ability to acknowledge, shelve, enable or disable, and reset the alarms from the PLC. So now when you get an alarm, you can do everything from the HMI, but if you have someone who is more savvy with the PLC, they have the ability to come in here, find it, they can acknowledge it. They can also enable and disable the alarm. So as you can see, it changed the state down here and the state showed up. Once you enable, it goes back to no active state because it is normal and acknowledged. So enabling and disabling is different than putting it in use. I just wanted to highlight that you can do this from within the PLC. You have the functionality, but if you turn off the use of that alarm, you come back up in here. One, it will no longer show up inside the HMI, and you do not have the capability of acknowledging, shelving, or disabling or resetting the alarm because it is not in the proper state or mode.